What was your rank when you left the Army? Was it private, first class?
Private first class.
Private first class. Well, sir, what's it been like to be back here for the 70th anniversary of
Well, I really find it inspiring, and I think that if I had it to do over, I'd love to came more often, but finances probably don't really allow you to do it too much. So I'm just proud to be here at least the 70th anniversary of this. I may never get the 75th, and I think that's why they had the 70th so big and so popular. And I'm just tickled that what we had here was here, the representatives for the Battle of the Bulge. And I'm very blessed that I had at least 4 of my family members here along with me. So that made 5 altogether. And I'd love to have had a few more, but they kind of backed out on me, but I understand. And I also, the little town of Goovy, I think you heard me mention that, is where I really had a good experience there because of the fact that before the Bulge ever started, I was stationed there. The 3 of us, a sergeant, a Jeep driver, and myself. And we were taking care of the traffic that come in and out of Goovy. And when we saw the Germans, well, we had orders, though, that if anything happened that we had to evacuate, that we were to come back to Bastogne. So we'd already got word. And then when we saw the Germans unloading their tanks from the rail cars down below where we were at, in other words, from the German side of the rail, we said, it's time to get out of here. So the sergeant asked me, he says, said, go over and ask the commander at the ration depot to get to see if he's got the rear guard in place. So I did, and when he told me he had the rear guard in place, I said, and then I went and told my sergeant, he said, well, let's get out of here, we've got to go. So that's when we hopped in the Jeep. We couldn't get our baggage or nothing. We had to leave right then because we had orders to go back to Bastogne. Went back to Bastogne. And from there, we went on into Neufchâteau from Bastogne because when we got to Bastogne, they had orders, our headquarters had orders to move out of there and go back to Neufchâteau. Well, Neufchâteau was 8th Corps headquarters. So then after that, as the Bulge progressed, then 8th Corps, the MPs moved back into Bastogne to direct the traffic that was moving in and out of Bastogne. And this is where I got my Bronze Star. The shelling went on into Bastogne, and while we were on duty, the Germans were shelling the town. And I was on duty, and my sergeant come up and asked me, he said, my God, Merz, where you been? Because they were down in the basement and they heard all this booming and banging going on. He said, where have you been? I said, well, I've been up here directing these tanks in here, all buttoned up, see, and they couldn't see hardly where they were going. They just had their periscopes on, see. And I said, well, I couldn't leave my post. He said, well, where's Woody? Because there was 2 of us on that post. And he said, well, where's Woody? I said, I don't know. I said, Woody took off. Which he did. I mean, I can understand when you got 2 guys on the post and the guy that's supposed to be there, and he feels insecure about staying in there and going to he could find shelter and maybe watch. He probably was watching where I was at. If something happened to me, he'd had to step out there, but he never had to because I stayed my post. So, and that's how come I got my Bronze Star.
You knew General McCall, or you were there when General McCall was there?
Oh, yeah.
What does nuts mean to you?
Hell, I knew what it meant to me. It meant nuts. It meant, hell, I'm not doing this, But Nisa would have been a word that the Germans might have known what it was. Nuts. He said, or to hell with you, or called him something else,
Surrounded. What was that like to you?
Well, that was a very scary feeling. And I'll tell you, one of the worst parts about it was when I was in this little town of Goovy, and when I heard that they had the Malmedy massacre. That put the fear of God in us, because we said, hey, if these guys are not playing according to the rule book, we're in trouble. And a lot of the guys were looking at it this way, well, if they're not taking prisoners, we're not taking them. And, that and when we were brought, well, As MPs, we were actually taught not to use the billy club. That was a no-no. You know how the old time used to be billy club, bang them on the head and knock them out and then drag them in, see. We were taught to use diplomacy. And I thought, well, man, what's diplomacy going to do with somebody shooting at you? You know, and you're laid up there and you're just in a, well, you know, it puts a fear of God in you. And that was one of the most, actually, one of the terriblest times in our life, I guess, in that situation. I mean, you think about it. You got that threat. You're 19 years old. You still got a whole life ahead of you. And I never dreamed that I'd last this long. But here I am, 89 years old, getting ready to spend my 90th birthday, February of this next year. I'm tickled to death that I'm here, and I just enjoy meeting and conversing with the people here. I've made a lot of friends, and just even in a short time, some of the people that I've met, and some of them on this tour we were doing, I met people I never knew, but I feel friendship with them. It's just a friendship thing. It's really inspiring in a way. I'm just tickled that I could do it. And my family.